Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Mars sextile or trine one's natal Jupiter. Now, when you have this transit, this could be about a courage, action, initiative, drive, motivation, and energy. This could be in harmony with expanding horizons, and I'm also going to elaborate on that. The thing about this is when you're going to be more generally, have more motivation, more drive to expand horizons, to go outside the box, so to speak, during this transit, and have the energy to do so. And you'll have the have the motivation, have the incentive of doing this. If you have natal Jupiter in Capricorn, say, could be doing something, say, just general business or accounting or dentistry, or doing some kind of political or government work as some examples. It could be doing, too, when you have this transit, it's very positive because it's a good blending of courage and fortitude and enthusiasm as well. It could be about just simply being positive regarding speaking up for something or someone or for yourself. Um, it could also be about taking action and being very positive. When you do this, Mars and Jupiter both have a connection with sports, and this could be a time, if you're an athlete, where this could be very positive for having the energy. And also, it's fortuitous as well because Jupiter is the planet that is associated with luck and fortune. So, and actions in general are likely to be more auspicious than at this time. If you're trying to take the lead in something, or something where you have to be somewhat aggressive, if you're involved in some kind of sales, whether it's door to door, working as a door to door salesman, or you're in a retail outlet where you're trying to sell items. This is the time where you may have more of the ability to do so, but not come across as overly pushy or forceful in the process, where it's more accepted. It could also be the time to, when you have this transit as well. Um, Mars is about, it's also connected with surgery and its injuries. So if there's any kind of injuries that you may be going through, maybe the healing prime, because it's making a good aspect to Jupiter, the planet of luck and fortune, it could be just where the healing process might be a little bit quicker, or it could simply be that you're more upbeat in terms of dealing with the problem at this time, and having a more positive outlook. If there's if it's a physical injury, or if there's something anatomically associated with Mars, such as something with the head, the skull or the face or the sexual organs, it's a time where you could be more positive about what could be the recovery process, or just being able to deal with it in a more upbeat, optimistic manner, more so than you ordinarily would. It's also a time where, when you have this transit as well. I mean, Jupiter, now speaking of anatomically speaking, Jupiter is associated anatomically with the liver, the pancreas, the thighs, hips, and obesity. So during this time, it can be a time where you would be more apt to take action. If you have any of those issues, you be more enthusiastic, or just having the courage to even confront those issues. If it's something where you've procrastinated or hesitated for some time, and in taking care of any of those issues you may have that would be anatomically connected with Jupiter, this is the time where you may be more likely than not to take the action connected with it, and to do something about it. And it's a positive time to do so, because there'd likely be less delays or diversions or distractions in order to take care of those issues. Now, it could also be a time as well during this transit. It's also about having the courage to be veracious and speak the truth. Now, Mars is about courage and fortitude. Jupiter is associated with veracity and the truth. So this could be the time where you can have more of that ability to do so, because you wouldn't have any fear or little fear in doing this, in doing so in a way where people are less likely to be taken aback or be rebuffed by it. So you could put it in these matters in a direct way, being outspoken and direct without necessarily being offensive in the process. And it's also in the time, I mean, Jupiter is connected with the loss, so it's a time too when you have this transit. It's about too having good relationship again with Mars and Jupiter, having the courage to do the right thing if it's something that needs to be reported. And somebody has broken the law and you know about it, and it's something like if you've had some apprehensions or had reluctance in reporting something for some time and you believe somebody has committed a crime, this would be the opportune time, I would say, to actually do something about this and taking the action, because the results too are more, it's a time where it's more positive for that. And also, again, having really the guts and bravery to do something like, especially if you have some worrying that something might come back on you, or somebody might be suspicious that you were the one that had reported something. This is the time where you would likely cast that to the side, and any apprehension, discard any apprehensions on this at this time. Now, Jupiter is also associated with higher education. So again, this is a time, as far as Mars goes, initiative, having, taking action, doing so with little hesitation or procrastination. If you're trying to enroll in college and you've hesitated for some time, and this is the time where it could be very positive for taking action on those matters. If you have your natal Jupiter, say in Scorpio, maybe you might be interested in something college related, associated, could be with surgery or law enforcement, or something with forensics, insurance or taxes, as embalming as some examples. Could also be a time, Jupiter is also associated with publishing, so it's also a time where you'd likely have more, the drive, the motivation in order to publish at this time, and having that energy and vitality in doing so. Could be publishing or even advertising. If you're somebody that's involved in advertising, this is a time where you have the energy more energy in order to do this. And it's also, I would say, the right amount of energy too. The thing about it is, some people wonder, well, what's really the difference between transit Mars sextile or trine one's natal Jupiter in contrast to transit Mars conjunct one's natal Jupiter? Well, they're similar, but the thing about it is, when you have, let's say, transit Mars conjunct the natal Jupiter, the conjunctions are intensification of energy. It might be energy overload. There might be almost like a surfeit, an overabundance of energy. And sometimes being overly energetic is not good, because it could lead to overexertion. When you have the transit like this, the transit Mars making a sextile or trine to the natal Jupiter, that's more, let's say, more just the right amount of energy to get what you're doing that could be Jupiter related, whether it's something regarding the law or sports or publishing or whatever it may be. So anyway, now it's also the time too to have, if you're part of a religious congregation, it could be the time where you might show some leadership. It could be an opportune time for showing leadership qualities there, or taking action in some matter that's at a religious place, again, or congregation, if you belong to a church in your area. And also time, this could also be an auspicious transit for being direct and speaking your mind about your philosophies and your beliefs at this time. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway, yeah, that's my signature statement. But anyway, what I want to say is that again, this is a good transit for speaking your mind about your beliefs, having the drive and motivation to do so. And it's also a time where, I mean, Mars again being connected with surgery, it can be an auspicious time for that because Mars is connected with surgery. Jupiter is about is luck. It's about, you know, what's fortuitous, what's positive. So this is a good time, you know, if you were to have surgery, I would say to do so. But you know, I understand there's other things too that, you know, people will look at, you know, the transit of the moon and what sign it's in and so forth and so on. As far as other elements to look for is in terms of the surgery being, you know, positive, or whether it's, you know, or not as positive, or it might be to one's detriment. But anyway, now another thing too is that Jupiter is about traveling abroad and foreign travel. So this is also a time where you might have, if you've been hesitant, or, you know, if you're someone, especially, I'd say if you've never traveled outside the country, I've never traveled outside the country, so it could be a time where it may be more positive for that to take any action and to be able to initiate something, at least start the process and getting, you know, your information, you know, what's needed in traveling abroad and having that right amount of energy in doing so. Now, another way this transit could manifest, it could be about having a drive and motivation, which is Mars, to expand horizons, which is Jupiter. Let's say, for example, if the natal Jupiter is in Libra, it could be something with art or fashion design or acting, as some examples, or even a human resource position. And also, too, it could be a time where you have, it's about having the vitality and energy, which is Mars. It could be for doing something sports related, which is Jupiter. Um, let's say, for example, if the natal Jupiter is in Aries, it could be, you know, football, because you could consider that more of a volatile, violent sport, football, or karate, or boxing, or judo, as some examples. And also, too, this could be a time where the sexual partner, which would be connected with Mars, could be in harmony, in agreement with what you have an enthusiasm and exuberance for, which is Jupiter. For example, if the natal Jupiter is in Sagittarius, in the 11th house, it could be doing something with archery, or publishing, or adventure, which is Sagittarius, and it could be with friends, which is the 11th house. It's also a time where it could be very auspicious to take action, which is Mars, in matters associated with the law. Now, for example, when the law is connected with Jupiter, let's say, for example, if the natal Jupiter is in Scorpio, maybe there's some legal issue associated with toxins, or will, or insurance, as some examples. And it's also a time where it could be propitious to take the initiative, which is Mars. It could be with an in-law or foreigner, which is Jupiter. And it could be, let's say, if the natal Jupiter is in Aquarius, it might be people that are Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or they may simply embody Aquarius characteristics. It might be people that, you know, are non-conforming, or unorthodox, or unconventional, even innovative, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.